Welcome to your first treble viol lesson. In this lesson we're going to be looking at how to hold the viol, being comfortable, and posture, and pizzicato and playing for music pizzicato. In the next lesson we'll be looking at bowing. So first of all, when you hold any viol, it's really important that you don't grip with your knees. And the viol just rests. You make a cradle with your legs effectively. And I think one of the most important things that can often get overlooked actually is the position of your feet when you play. And you can see here I've got my left foot further forward than my right foot, and I'm trying to line up my feet with my knees so that my knees aren't twisted in any way. The right side of the viol, this side, is slightly tucked in. And that's so that when you play on the top string with the bow, it's not so far to reach. If you just have it straight like that, it's a lot further round to reach with the bow over here. So that's important to feel that the right side is tucked in. So sitting wise, when I'm sitting, I'm not arching my back in any way. I'm just sitting as though I could be sitting up to a table. But just sitting and with a relaxed back rather than a really straight back. Okay, so some people find that using a cloth, one of these rubber cloths that you get, I think it's called toolbox liner, some people find this is really useful. And because it's rubber, it just makes it stop there. So that's a very easy way to feel very secure at the beginning when you first start holding a viol. Because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're going to drop it. So that's an advantage of this. A disadvantage would be that sometimes if you get your viol out, you put your cloth on your leg and then you just put your viol there and you start to play. And sometimes it can be in the wrong place without you knowing it, because it just stays. So that's, if you use the cloth, that's something to watch out for. And also I think it's quite nice to feel what it feels like to hold the viol between your knees and get some sort of relationship between the viol and your body. So, learning the viol strings then. We've got two Ds, one at the bottom, one at the top. And in the middle, we've got C and E. And one up from E is A, and one down from C is G. And I really like the idea of learning the viol from the middle outwards, rather than always counting up from the bottom, because if you start doing that now, invariably you'll always have to think about, oh, what was that string? That was that one, that was that one. So we're going to learn it from the middle then. So let's think about left hand position. It's a really good idea to, when you put your hand on, to put it on from here, this way. Can you see that provides, well, that's a good hand position, with your hand up, pointing upwards, back of the hand upwards. If you bring your hand up from here, it's a completely different position. So if you straighten your arm and bring it over, it really is a nice way of getting the hand on. So let's just think about what position your hand should be in, apart from what I've just showed you. Your thumb needs to be under the second finger and bent out. And I can't stress how important this is, to have a thumb with a supple joint like that, rather than a straight thumb like this. You can see that all of that muscle there is locked if you have your thumb bent out. If it's straight, if you've got the knuckle, you can see that's all supple. And the point of contact for the back of the viol is the side of your thumb, almost on the nail. I'm just going to show you that way. It's not sort of particularly the fleshy part there. For the treble, it's much more on the side. So we're going to do this now, and in later lessons I'm going to ask you to do this without looking and finding a note on the fingerboard, which always creates a bit of fun. But this this arm exercise is to get you to do this without going, oh, that's that note there. Because what we want to try and do is to get your muscle memory working. So you're learning a new skill from muscle memory. And that's really important when you first start learning an instrument. So, C and E in the middle then. And when you place your fingers on the frets, it's really important to place them just before the fret, just this side of the fret, to listen for a ringing sound, like this. Because it doesn't matter, even if you're a genius with the bow, if you don't have good contact here, then your bow isn't going to sound right. And if I go just too far, you get the buzz, but it sounds a bit dead. That rings, that sound. So what we're going to be looking at is something from a viol tutor that I wrote called Viol Player in 2005. And all my viol tutors have resulted really from me teaching in schools for 18 years for Warwickshire Music Service, which was quite an amazing time of learning. And I learned so much from my students, and they really enabled me to write these viol tutors. So it's Viol Player Book 1 for treble, and we're going to start with a piece called Up and Down Again. And one of the things about playing the viol is, because it's such a beautiful resonant instrument, we like to put fingers down and hardly ever take them off. Well, that's the idea anyway. So in this piece, if you can see, it's on page 24, on the D there's a little dotted line which shows you how long you have to hold your fingers down for. So that's just for the E, and then you hop across to the F sharp. And you can see we've got quite a few first fingers with those dotted lines on. And then at the end, on the second time bar, if you just have a quick look at the geography of that, we've got a first time bar and a second time bar. On the last bar, we've got, it says you hold one finger down on the C string and one finger down on the G string. So holding two fingers down together. So let's try this from the beginning. And when you do pizzicato, put your thumb on the side of the fingerboard and bring your arm up so you can play on the fleshy part of your finger. Right, okay, ready? Sitting comfortably? Here we go. So I'll give you 3, 4. Ready? 3, 4. Hold your finger down. Is it still down? Back to the beginning. Second time bar. Hold the D with the G. Great. So that's our first piece that we've learnt, and you can practice that on your own. The next piece I want to look at that talks about fingers holding down is the Soldier's Call. And this is a really good example of holding fingers down. And the alternative title for this is called Second Finger Stick, and that's definitely a clue about what you should be doing. So you hold your second finger down for the entire piece, and your first finger hops from the C string up to the A string. So we've got a new note here, B. So far we've learnt C, D, E, F sharp, G on the middle two strings. Now we're going up towards the A string and playing a first finger, which gives us B. So if I just show you what's happening here, you hold your second finger down and your first finger hops across from the C string to play D to the A string to play B. back down to the C string, up to the A string. Okay, let's have a play of this then, and I'll count you in quite a slow 4. Fingers ready. So, sitting comfortably, relaxed. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hop your first finger. So it's an interesting concept, isn't it? Moving a first finger across like that. So in terms of your fingers making contact with the strings, you don't want to be pressing too hard. You just want to be pressing enough to make a good contact and a good sound. And keeping your thumb bent out is going to keep it loose. So when you play with different fingers, it's more about transferring the weight from one finger to another. And holding fingers down for people who play the violin family is going to be a different concept, because if you're used to doing vibrato, then you've only got one finger down. So this concept of holding fingers down is something to get used to. So with the left hand, the aim to start with the left hand, in starting the lessons with the left hand, is to try and put this onto autopilot. This is, because we're learning notes, this can either be right or wrong. And if you can try and memorise or have a picture in your mind of the fingerboard and the strings and the frets about where the notes are at this stage, it's going to free up a lot more time to think about the bow, which can be right and also wrong, but it's a lot more consideration. So what I want you to do with this is to try and have some free brain space to take on the bow when you're doing your left hand. And we'll talk about that in the next lesson. But just get a visual picture of what your hand's doing. And when you practice not only with your eyes open, but close your eyes and visualise what you're doing. And that's another really good way of trying to get into your body all these new muscle memories which you're learning. So in our next lesson we're going to be doing bowing. But if you could like and share and subscribe to these lessons, then you'll get the next few lessons that are coming up in this progressive series of viol lessons.